high office. You understand, and you have understood since 1945, that when people are without dignity, not much else matters. And when you look at the world today, the cycle of violence that is dominating the Middle East, so many corners of the world, it is the human condition that is always most important. It is the human condition that always drives all events and all actions, for both good and bad. And until we all in the world learn that lesson and understand that reality, then the hope of man is limited to what we can achieve together. It will make little difference how many Marines or paratroopers America or allies put in any country, or how many billions of dollars we put anywhere, unless we focus on the human condition. And that human condition is not getting better. When you look at the numbers today in the world, about 6.5 billion people, all part of a global society, underpinned by a global economy. 40% of those global citizens are under the age of 19 years old. A third to a half of the global population live in some degree of poverty, whether a billion who live in essentially abject poverty, or another billion who have no sanitation, no running water. Half of the world's population live on less than $2 a day. So when we talk about the great challenges of the 21st century, and there are many, and they can be clearly defined, certainly proliferation of weapons of mass destruction is right there at the top, as is terrorism, Islamic extremism, environmental issues. But all are underpinned by one common thread, and that's the human condition. And until we start focusing our resources and our leadership and our efforts and our diplomacy and all the instruments of power on that one thing, to do everything we can to bring people out of poverty, to address these human issues, then we will continue to go backwards in the world. Now, I suspect most everyone would agree with that statement. I've not heard any of us in the Congress campaign on a platform of poverty. We like poverty, or we like to keep people chained to a cycle of despair. No, we all agree that we need to do something about it. But getting there, how do we do something about it? How do we get to what we almost all agree is the destination required to resolve the Middle East crisis, a two-state solution? We almost all agree on that. But somehow we can't break the cycle of violence to get there. We can't even get it on a higher ground. And so what happens? More despair, and more hopelessness, and more violence, and more poverty, and more hunger. And we just continue to give speeches. It is organizations like CARE and so many others that really do shape the world in truly human ways. You can't do it all. You're doing as much as you can. You will do more. You'll have to do more. But we as policymakers have some responsibility to help, far more than we have been helping. I understand, as Congresswoman Lowy understands, and all of us who have many responsibilities for security of our country, the geopolitical strategic interests of a nation, of our allies, of the world, energy supplies, those are realities. We understand that. But they need not be disconnected from those responsibilities. They should be incorporated into, because they are woven into the same fabric, whether we talk about our national security interests, border interests. We are trying to resurrect an immigration reform debate. Certainly that has an awful lot to do with national security. It has a lot to do with our economy. But it also has a lot to do with hopelessness and poverty and hunger and despair. And we seem not to be able to turn that wheel enough to integrate those realities into one fabric. And that is the one fabric that counts the most, that human fabric. Whether we're liberals or conservatives, Republicans, Democrats, it doesn't make any difference. Humanity is humanity, and the human course is always the highest responsibility we have. You shape from within. All change in the world that happens, it's like the parents here, and most of you are parents or grandparents, you know raising children is not an outside-inside business. We raise our children from the inside out. That's how they're influenced. That's how they grow up to be loving, responsible citizens who we hope will, in their lifetimes, develop a stronger appreciation for being part of interests that are greater than their own. That's an organization like CARE. That's an organizational responsibility that you can do better than the government. You can do better than anyone else. But as I said, until we are able to harness the public-private frameworks and resources that we can, and we have in the past, until we're able to do that, and we have a number of models to work from that have worked very well since World War II over the last 60 years. You can go back to the Marshall Plan. And why was that so important? The Marshall Plan, I suspect, won more friends and more allies and more respect and strengthened alliances than any one thing America's done in the last 60 years. We now are moving into a new century, into a new world, dealing with a new generation of global citizens. And when I recited those numbers, that 40% of the world population today, 6.5 billion people, are under the age of 19 years old, and you concentrate where those numbers are, they're in the trouble spots of the world. The trouble spots of the world are the areas of the world that were left behind, over the last 60 years. The magnificent strides for humankind that we have achieved over the last 60 years is historical, unprecedented. But not everyone benefited from those great advancements, whether it's science or health, technology, transportation, telecommunications, space exploration. And you focus on the areas of the world today that are the most violent and the most troubled, starting with the Middle East, still significant parts of Africa, North Korea, parts of Latin America. Those people were left behind. They were left behind. And the great challenge for the 21st century is to devote the kind of attention, and not just resources, but all that must go in to fixing problems to those parts of the world and help bring those people along into the 21st century. We're not much different from each other, regardless of your religious background, your ethnic, cultural histories, traditions. Most people of the world care about their families. Most people of the world want peace. Most people of the world want some opportunities for their children, an enhancement for their children. They want the dignity of a job. They want the dignity of respect. They want the dignity of individual freedom. That is not a Christian issue. It's not a Jewish issue, a Muslim issue. That's a fundamental human issue. And we must come at these things from that larger and wider lens perspective. And what CARE has done since 1945 is help us do that. If there had not been a CARE over these years, I don't know. Some of these issues would be far more difficult to deal with. Millions of people who have been touched by CARE over that time period, who have gone on to take the new abilities and possibilities and hope and translate those into new worlds for other people, is unquantifiable. We can't measure that. But we know that it's happened. We know that it's happening today because of what you're doing in this organization.